The question posted is, does uLaw allow you to actually record expenses that are not actually client expenses? And the answer is yes. If you look under chart of accounts for accounts, you go in the accounts panel and then click on the accounts button, go into expense, you actually see accounts under rent and taxes. Like, you can record rent, reality taxes, um, hydro, property maintenance, utility services, other service charges. You can also maintain office expenses like printing and stationery, photocopiers, gas expense, meals, maintenance, and other expenses. The way you would enter that is you would click on the action button, click on expenses, and you would click on office expense. Now, under office expense, you have two choices. You can choose either rent and taxes or office expense. And then you would choose, like for example, say you want to enter a photocopier charge that you incurred because you went to Staples Business Depot. So you would say photocopier, you would say invoice number 55, and you would say photocopy for City of Ottawa. Obviously, this has nothing to do with charging it to any client, and you would say the total say was $20. You would put there, and uLaw would automatically calculate with taxes. But if you know the other way, that you spent say $75 in total, uLaw will automatically log HST and the amount properly. Now you can also indicate how you actually paid for this expense. Was it a cash payable, or was it like paid by bank, and you can choose the bank. Or you can also mark it as accounts payable. In this case, like this would be a coworker that you need to pay later. So in this case, let's just say assign it to Andrew Parson and just do a submit. Now for recording this, you would see that uLaw has actually recorded it under stationery. So if you would actually go to photocopier account, you should see your entry here. Now at any given point of time, if you decide to pay Andrew Parson, you can just go and say action payment Coworker, and you can choose Andrew Parson and say, oh, he paid for $75. I can pay that off now as cash transaction and record that as a payment. Also, sometimes you may want to create a new office expense account. Like for example, say advertising is an account that you want to create. You would click on new account, go to expense and say office expense, and you can say advertising, and you can just save. And what uLaw would do is it would create a new account for you under expense, office expense, called advertising, and you can actually start recording expense there. You can say expense, office expense, and you can say advertising, and you can say voucher 77, paid Google for advertisement, and you can record the month and say your budget was say $100, and you paid it via bank or maybe credit card, and you can just give a reference and say submit. Now if you want to create expense reports, you would go to document generation and click on reports expense. Say you want a monthly report, and you just click on download. And here you go. You would see right away, your expense, your advertising expense, your photocopier expense, all the expense that we put in for today, and that's your total expense. And if you want to look at the ledger for, your coworker Andrew Parson, which is your expense ledger, you can say expense ledger, and you can say all transactions, Andrew Parson, and just say download. And that's his ledger. Like, he paid $75 for a photocopy, and then you paid him off that money. So to summarize, the chart of accounts under expense should actually give you a way by which you can either create new categories for office expenses or enter the already existing categories.